That's awesome.
Perfect. Yeah, there was nothing wrong with anything, as I knew there wouldn't be.
Good.
So, yeah, it came up really well.
Awesome.
So, I was talking with my accountant
Okay.
today, and he said the way the place is structured, even if I sold it for well over $1 million, I would have no tax liability.
Beautiful.
So it's, what the price of the house was in 2015
Uh-huh.
minus all improvements,
Right.
plus 500,000. That's how the capital gains works.
That's perfect.
So I wouldn't probably have, we would not exceed that threshold. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, that gives you definitely the upward side of it,
Yeah, he has a real estate license also, and he said, "Shit, you ought to just put it up for 1.1 million." See what somebody says.
Right.
Why not? I mean, shoot for the moon.
Right.
Just hit for the fence. You might get some idiot that goes, "I'll take it." Because I mean, it would be, as you were talking, and there's a lot of amenities that I don't have, but
right.
They'd walk through the door, they'd take a peek, and they'd go, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say, front door's right there. If you don't like what you see,
right.
Fuck out.
Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, I'd say it just like that. I don't mean to be rude, but,
right.
this is what I'm offering. This is what I got. There's nothing else available.
Right.
You want it, throw down. Now, that's me being a turd.
Right.
After the appraisal, the young couple, Jeff and Kristen, had to take off and get their daughter fed. She immediately called this morning. She's left messages with my wife and myself. They want to talk next steps.
Okay.
So I haven't called her back yet. I'm not too sure how I'm going to breach the subject.
Right.
But you talked to me about closing costs.
Uh-huh.
So you said it might be 1%. I mean, that's almost 10 grand.
Right. Well, let me.
What does that do?
What I can do is I can get a net sheet from Title and Escrow, just to give you, based off the sales amount, sales price, what their estimate is, and that way you can look at the fees and the additional costs that are in there. Because most people just focus on commissions and the percentages. They don't realize everything else that's in there. You have title insurance, which is critical to have. You have your escrow officer who has their escrow fees as they push everything through. There's taxes they need to settle up, make sure that's handled. There's a transfer tax. There's also NHD, natural hazard disclosure. It's only about $100. There's trying to think what else. Home warranty. If you do a home warranties, $350 to $550 is the average. I'm trying to think if anything else. That should be most of it there, but it's mainly your title and your escrow
about
fees.
About 1% then is a good rough estimate on.
Yeah, that's usually, if I'm just doing calculations off the top of my head, and it's and somebody's trying to get an estimate based on commissions and title and escrow with closing costs, we throw that on top. But yeah, those are the numbers you want to have figured out before you agree to anything with these buyers, just to know exactly what you're truly going to be walking away with.
Yeah. So I had something cross my mind and it went in one ear and just right out the other. Okay. God, it's horrible being old. Jesus. Well, I can't complain. Shit, I didn't remember anything when I was a kid either. What was I going to say?
So it sounded pretty positive with these buyers, though, correct?
Oh, well, I'm sure she wants to lock me up hard right now because they know the market. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, I know what I was going to tell you. Yeah, I cannot pay the loan off until August 1st. I have to carry
my
1st. Payments until August 1st so that my escrow agent does not pay any penalties.
Okay.
So they have to be out of their house by July 2nd.
Okay.
Which would mean they probably want to be in here. and my wife wants to be out here like the third, fourth week in June.
Okay.
She wants to be back, heading back east and back there.
Uh-huh.
So I'm assuming I could do something like a rent. They could rent from me for like $1 for that, whatever time period it is.
Yeah, you can. You got to be, as you know, you're still going to have the liability. Everything's going to be under your name. So you
Right.
want to make sure there is a form where people do move in beforehand. Liability-wise, on most brokerages, they typically advise against that, just because we've seen a lot of things go south where the deal doesn't go through. Now you got people stuck there. So it is something to be careful with, but you just want to make sure you do it the right way. If you have to hold off till August 1st for your closing, make sure you got the right paperwork in place. And I talked to my dad about that too, just to try to figure out what was the most competitive and what we could do for you. And the challenge is, even if I just provide the paperwork and consult you and advise you, all my info's on every contract. That's the way that the paperwork's generated. It doesn't make it where you can not have my info on it. So what happens is the perception is that you're still represented, even if you're saying, I don't want to be represented, the buyers don't want to be represented. As we talked about, that way would have no E&O as well. So I know that for sale by owners can do it, and there's still escrow paperwork that escrow initiates it. So what I want to do is I want to talk to escrow, see what they do in these situations, and see if they'll provide the paperwork you need to put an offer and a purchase agreement together. And then I can just help instruct you through the way, just so that you're at least getting consulting, but has to be very clear that that's all it is consulting, not representation. Because then when you sell your house, so say you said, you know what, I want the E&O coverage, I want you to represent me, but they're on their own. And they have no coverage, and that's their call. They're getting a discount on the price. You know what I mean? That's what they wanted to do. We could figure something out for that. Or the other way is I represent both sides. If I represent both sides, liability for me goes through the roof because there's higher probability that something can happen. Now I've done it not many times, but I've done it a good amount of times, and I'm always super careful as we go through it to remain as neutral as I can, even though if you hire me, I'm still representing you. There's a lot of gray area that comes up here. So where we have to be careful is if we are helping out with the paperwork and there's a perception that we are representing you. Now, if we get hit and we have to claim it on our E&O, we basically pay more money for our errors and emissions insurance. All the transactions, we represent both sides. So that was the big part of the conversation, and just trying to figure out the best way. Does that all make sense, just from what I shared with you so far?
Absolutely.
Okay, so just trying to do it in the most practical way, still help you out the best that we can to save money for everybody, and do that. So what he did agree to.
Well, let me ask you, if I do not believe they have an agent.
Okay.
So I think it's just them and it's just me.
Right.
If I said, Brandon, handle this.
Right.
It's already done. 900,000. Handle it.
Yep.
What would you charge? Have you figured that out with your dad?
Yeah, I talked to him about that, and that would be me representing just you, not them, just for liability reasons in terms of us not having to claim it as double N. So they would write the offer without representation, and I would be representing you. I could do it for 1%. So 1% for that, and that's it. And then you got your E&O coverage, you still got your insurance, you're covered, and I can give you the paperwork and advise you through the process. If you just want to do paperwork through escrow, I can do that for $1,000, as we talked about before, and that's going to be the cheapest way. But again, you're on the hook for everything if anything happens. All I'm doing is consulting you through that process and trying to help make sure that that you're doing proper disclosures and that thing. So I'm going to give you a little bit more. It's just, if anything were to happen, it doesn't fall back on me, in terms of that. 1%'s enough to cover for E&O, for, to making sure that, that everything's done the right way. And obviously, as we've talked about before, I was going to do the whole thing for 3%, or 3.5% even before I knew who you were, and then 3% to represent both sides, which is still very, very competitive and very comparable. One is that's as low as we can go to make sure we still cover our costs as we do this, as well as the liability that we're still going to inherit at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it. So, because we would have to kick in our E&O insurance if some claim were to come up. And that's what, I mean, really, you want our skin in the game as well, just in terms of making sure that you have the deeper pockets behind you as well with our insurance attorneys and so forth. So it's
exactly.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, and please keep that confidential. I know Jeff Madrazo, referred you over. It's not something that I put out there, and I definitely don't want that advertised out there. And I would take care of Jeff if he needs us to help him out, and I'll help him out in the best way that I can. Not saying that I wouldn't do the same. I just can't have that getting out there that we would be willing to represent you for 1%. And it's only for this particular buyer. We go on the regular MLS, we do everything. It's everything we talked about before, in terms of exactly
going that
approach.
I completely understand this.
Yep.
I'm not asking for any favors. You're cutting me a good one as it is, but I have to be able to chat with these people to say,
right,
this needs to be done this way,
right.
And I think they're getting such a deal in this particular market that I'm going to try to tell them they need to pay the 2%. It's going to cost us 2% to do this.
Okay.
Like if it's a % for you, and the closing costs are a %.
Right.
I mean, I don't feel I want to be generous at this particular price point.
Right.
And say I'll split the deal with you. That's what my wife wants to do, and I'm going, no.
Right.
They're getting such a deal that they can pay all the closing costs, which is
right.
paperwork, blah, 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 and all that. Then I feel then that would be great. But I don't know how they're going to put up with that. So
we'll
have to see.
And again, nothing's done until it's done. And I'll honor this. Even if we go on to the MLS and they end up purchasing it, you'll have this special arrangement for them and only them. You know what I mean? So you can tell them that and say, you guys got a major advantage over everybody else that's competing at 5%. They got to come in way higher to make it worth more money than what you guys are already offering because of the special exception that we're doing, So, so it's still, they should still see the value in that because it's a huge benefit that they wouldn't even get if they had an agent representing them. The agent's not going to discount their whole price.
Go ahead. What do I do with this cross qualifying them to call Jason? I mean, do I have them call Jason and give him their information? So I would just say, hey, you need to call this guy. It's free. Get cross qualified. That means I know that you can come up with the money.
Right.
And that kind of covers me, so I know you're not going to drop out at some point in time.
Absolutely.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay, and I'm going to get you that net sheet too. I'm going to talk to, there's a couple escrow officers, but one that I do quite a bit with, and I'm going to talk to her and explain the situation so that she can try to see what she can do on her fees as well and being as competitive as she can be on her escrow fees to try to cut that down as low as possible. So you'll see a true net of what you should walk out. And that's going to be just based on this situation. And then I can even do one. What number would you like me to put for if you were to put it on the MLS? Are you thinking of going higher in your asking price? Like, I didn't know if you were serious about 1.1, but going higher than what we had originally planned. I told you my professional opinion was 925. I still feel good about 950. And I say that in a way that when I say 50-50, I see the comps and I see what's there. But once we have some of these 2-bedroom properties close, and once those are officially closed, I think 950 looks very enticing, and then I'm hopeful for the upward, having the higher starting point. You know what I mean? Having the upward number bounce off that 950, hitting what you ultimately said at the beginning. If you could get 980, you'd be pumped. On that working out. So yeah, and I still do feel it's.
I would say that here's my wife's rub.
Okay.
If we do this and you don't get it, and somebody comes in and they say, no, it's not worth it, and it, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Then I'm kind of screwed, right? But if I can't get, like I said, I got to clear $50,000. I got to pay everything off, and I need an extra $50,000.
Right.
That's the way I look at it. Whatever that top number is, whether it's 980, 990. Honestly, it's got to be $1 million, right? Because right now their offer that's on the table
Right.
is actually going to be more like 970, to be honest. If they pick up all the cost
right
at 2%,
uh-huh
it's going to be in equivalence a 5% fee plus the 2% closing. So it's actually 7%. So, I mean, honestly, right? I mean, that's
right
what it's going to be. That would be my value, not that's what's coming out of their pocket.
right
But that's a lot of flipping money. I mean, goodness gracious.
right yeah, no, I
That's
see that.
heavy. That's heavy. Shit.
Right.
That's $63,000.
Yep.
So, you know, that would be like selling the house for 960 was basically what you're saying. Now that's if nobody sees the value in this home.
Correct.
But the reason my CPA was talking with me, and like I said, he's not a real estate agent. He has his life.
Right.
But he's a real smart cookie when it comes to, you might even know him, David Mitchell. He's out there off Lantana.
David Mitchell.
He's a CP.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a CPA office down off Lantana, right behind what's that? The Olive Garden, whatever that is.
Right.
I had a friend of mine turn me on to him. He's been really good with doing my taxes. I mean, he's gotten me money back every year.
That's good.
So yeah, he's a good dude. He's really nice, and we talk quite a bit, just on a more friendly basis.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to have that, especially with these moves.
We were just chatting, and he goes, "Well, hell, you know, put it up for 1.1 and swing for the fences. What's the worst that can happen? Nobody gives an offer."
Yeah, well, that's part of it, but more of it is it's the negative stigma
that outrageous, right?
Yeah, but it's the negative stigma that gets associated. Even when you mentioned about doing the for sale by owner, it's very common. I've had it where sellers are like, okay, let me see if I can do it on my own. And then they see that what I shared with them ahead of time truly comes to fruition. All they're getting hit up by are people trying to get listings, really. And they say they got a buyer. And then if somebody is offering, they're lowballing, or maybe they even give them their number, right? And they're just hoping to take advantage of the situation. But what happens is when we then put it on Zillow, they saw, because you advertise on FSBO as a 900, then you put it up at 950, 960, and they're like, well, why was there a price increase of $60,000? And we can't just say to cover the commissions. They're like, what'd you do to the house to make it worth that amount? So it gives that negative stigma right out the gate, and you don't want that. You want a nice, fresh, properly listed property at the right price that's going to draw the right demand. And in this market, this isn't car sales. You don't start high and work your way down and try to negotiate. With real estate sales, it's all about driving that desire, that demand, that desire. Once you have all that, you're just going to be blown away with what your final walk away price is. If we do it the right way. If we don't do it the right way, many people don't do it the right way because they're not very strong agents up front. They won't tell you what you need to hear up front. And because of that, they're just like, yeah, I'll take the listing at 1.1 million. Hey, that'll look good on my portfolio. I'll have a $1.1 million listing. Yeah, it's overpriced, but you know, it'll sit. Maybe I'll pull a buyer or two or a seller in the process, right? That's not fair to you. That's selfish on my part to take that just for that sake and hoping for spin-off business, because I really don't think I'm going to sell your property at 1.1 million, you know? So it's that's the angle a lot of people will take. And that's even the discount companies. That's what they'll take. They just care about getting your listing. If it sticks, it sticks. Service is going to be whatever. But they're going for the spinoff business. So I'm not doing that. Obviously, I'll be very appreciative if any other business does come from this. But more importantly, my goal is to make sure that you make as much money as possible from the sale of this home, and you do it the right way the first time. And if you do, you're going to see everything that you're looking for. So now, with where you mentioned with Diane's rub with, if it doesn't happen, now you're on the hook for all those costs. As I promised from the beginning, if you're not happy with what you're walking away with, we don't commit to anything. So if you don't see what you like in terms of the net, we don't walk away with anything. I've already shown you what I'm willing to do in this special situation. You know, I'm going to be as flexible as I can to make sure you guys are walking away with as much money as possible. So just because we do something for 5% doesn't mean that's ultimately what you're going to end up paying. And I don't do that for anybody. I never promise that to anybody because I want people to see the value and what I bring to the table if they're going to hire me. I don't want them to take me based off commission. I want them to know you are going to make more money working with me. But even with that being said, to take out to give the exception that say we don't get 950 or more, because there's a chance. And that's what I was saying, 50-50. 50-50, we don't get 950 and it sits. But I would give it at least 30 to 45 days, especially with having to wait till August 1st before we do anything with the price. And in that time, you're going to see other closings come, and we just got to be patient. And that's it. And you're going to hear people come in and say, oh, you're overpriced at 950. They're still going to say that. Oh, the bathrooms need to be this, or they need to be this. And they're all thinking HGTV, right? That's where their standards are at for a 950 house, $1 million house. You're north of 900,000. It's a lot of money no matter how you spend it, right? So they're going to say these things and try to get in your head, and we just have to, like you said, there's a front door till the right person comes in. And if we're patient 40 to 50 days out and we stay at that 950, you're still going to be solid. It's not going to be far off from 950. And that's what I said at the beginning. I thought 925 is a sweet spot. Again, that's almost like now I would say like a 90% certainty you get at that price, you're going to drive that crazy momentum. But still, if it goes 50 over, you're still at 975. Where if we start at 950 and you go, 50 over, you're at $1 million. So that gets you much closer to what your ultimate goal is from this. So I say we do swing for the fences and list at 950,000.
Well, here's my thought.
Okay.
As I think I expressed to you before, especially if I'm not knowing that there's probably going to be more of a 2% pop behind this for all the for sale, right?
Okay.
If they pick up everything and still give me $900,000,
right,
my equal is about 960. If I can't push that 50,000 more, so in essence, if I don't get in my pocket 950, everything said, it's not really worth it to me.
Right. No, I get that.
That's the deal.
Yeah.
So that would be what we'd be talking. Actually, we'd be talking more like you got to hit $1 million plus 20,000, right?
$1 million plus. All right. Now I'm losing where you're going. I thought you were saying. Go ahead.
If I get 950, so you're gonna, I'm gonna get 950,000 to pay all my bills. So here's a big check, my name on it for 950,000.
Okay.
That means you're paid. That means closing costs are paid. That means the window washer's paid. Everybody's paid. I get 950.
Okay.
That means total cost that we have to pull in. This house must sell for $1 million plus.
Okay, so now it has to be over $1 million to make it make more sense than what you currently have in front of you.
Well, yeah, it would be, to be honest. For 20 or 30,000, I'd rather not screw these people. I'd rather just give it to the kids and say, there's a plus check mark on my good book with St. Peter, and maybe when I get up there, he'll forgive me for some of the shit I did when I was a kid, right?
Well, no, I
say, well, you were real nice to those people, and we're gonna let you hang.
Yeah.
Versus, just pull the lever and down I go. So,
well, then I think your best route is going the route with these guys, and it's just this is not just on the professional side, friend side as well. Of it's going to be, not saying it's impossible, but even pushing 950 plus on the final sales price isn't still going to be easy even in this market. And it's possible and very possible. But if 20, 30K really isn't a big difference for these guys, then I think you try to make everything work at the 900. They may not be willing to bump up to, an additional 2% at almost 918. And again, I'll get you the exact numbers. So, I'm giving you the rough estimate. When somebody asks me, hey, what am I going to walk away with? I can tell them the numbers and calculate it pretty fast off of that.
Right.
And that usually gives me a very, very good rough estimate, but we want to know what those details are. And the other thing is you're asking them to pay for their closing costs as well as your closing costs, which is additional, but they're still getting a discount on price. And they've already shared with you that they feel you can get 950 on the open market, which is doable. But to walk away with 950 after everything, it's just not, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. Again, we're trying to sell this as is. And even when we compared, we're trying to compare apples to apples, and it's not. And the reason why I say it's not is these guys aren't, if they were 900,000, even 900 cash, and they came to you and said, here's our proof of funds. We can close 900 cash tomorrow and be done. Then you know what you got. But we don't have that. We got to vet these guys, and we have to see what they truly can do, and we want them to come higher than their 900 mark, which is closer to what you originally offered them at 915, and they came at 900. So again, they feel they got some negotiating room, even though they know that you like them, they know that your wife likes them, and they know they got a good shot at this property. With that all being said, until we create some activity, they're not going to feel that pressure of needing to come up or not. And if they don't come up, we don't have anything. Now we're starting from scratch, and trying to go forward and doing it, which isn't a big deal because of the time of the market. So I just don't want to promise you anything. Not saying it can't happen. I remember my dad had a list. I'll just share this quick story with you. Looking at all the comps, there's no way it's going to go out at this number, the number that the seller wanted. And my wife actually heard about another sale, so she shares it with my mom. My mom shares it with the client. Now the client's expectations went up higher. My dad's like, it's not going to happen. Puts it on the market. It happens. It actually goes higher than that. Went higher than his mind. He's like, and he just says, he's like, I'm going to get out of the business. He's like, when it comes to this, I'm looking at comps. There's no way in hell that price comes in, that we get that amount. He's just like, I'm just going to hang it up. He just said, he's like, Brandon, you run with this. I'm hanging it up. With all my experience, with everything I did, he's like, there's no way that happens. And it happened. And the only reason why I share it, and I'm not, believe me, it's my dad's, he's man enough to admit in any situation like that, that's like, hey, I thought this way, it went that way, right? But he knew what they could do, and they already felt they were on the high side. When I say the same thing as well, I'm telling you the same way. I don't see it happening based on how far off everything else is that's closed, and knowing the challenges of what we have to do to close a transaction. There's a lot more involved than just putting an offer together and then wrapping it up. You have a clean home inspection, which is awesome, right? You got some good things. The roof was already brought up. And as you know, that could already be a quick 15 to 20K, depending on who you're talking to, on an invoice out there that could bump into the money that you're trying to walk away with. So we got to throw that 15, 20K on top. So that's also what these buyers, I'm trying to think like these buyers. These buyers are going to be like, okay, we get it at 918, sounds like a pretty decent deal. We know that it needs a newer roof, and maybe the best quote they can get is about 10 to 15. And I'm going to say 15 is more likely what they're going to see. So if they say 15 plus the original 18, now they're up 30K higher, and that's still an as-is sale. So now you're up even higher with that. For them to go all the way through the process and not ask for anything, and it to appraise, and those things to happen, it's still not a done deal. And that's why I say it's not comparing apples to apples yet. But I get what you're saying just from the surface of it, of what it looks like. But we got to close at that amount and make sure they don't ask for anything all the way through. And again, they're going to do this with no representation, because that's how they're going to get the discount on the deal. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of things that we got to hope that they're strong enough to do. Does that make sense?
Well, I agree. And I think what I'm going to do is, because I appreciate you being candid.
Right.
And that's kind of what I thought. Like I said, when I talked to CPA, he was just, swing for the fence, heck with it. It doesn't happen, you're cool. But I get where you're coming from and the understanding of the market. So for me, what is in my head right now is I would prefer to tell them, or call them back and tell them that 900 is a superior price. I have now found out that we have other costs that are going to be incurred that are roughly 2%, which, because the price is so good, I feel you guys need to pay.
Okay.
So you need to find out what's happening. I have a gentleman that will do it for me for a relatively good rate. If you want to go this direction, I'll set it all up, but you guys are paying for it.
Right.
And then if they balk, if they go, we're at our limit, we can't do it, then I'm going to say, I'm sorry. I got to put this on the market,
right,
and swing for the fence.
There you go.
I have to. So at 950 or you get 960, I'm still at the 900 range. I haven't lost anything.
Right.
You get paid, I get paid, and I haven't lost anything. Now, I haven't made my extra 50 grand.
No.
And
but
my heart's hurt because I didn't let this nice couple have it.
Right.
But I haven't lost anything because if I get, if I have to pay the extra 2%, which is 20, well, not quite 20 grand,
right.
19, 20, then I'm back at my profits down below 400K.
Right.
And I'm down like 380 plus, I got moving costs and blah, blah, blah. I don't walk away with what I feel
you could have got.
Could
right.
walk away with.
I hear you.
So I think I have a very good bargaining chip here in that respect. Now, I could be pleasantly surprised, and they could be sitting on just an absolute ton of money. But after hearing his story, I don't think so.
Right.
He's been unemployed for a year. He's bouncing around trying to find a job. Okay. He used to work for the federal government. He got really sick. She owns a business, but I don't understand. She's 38. He's 42.
Uh-huh.
How do they qualify for almost $1 million?
There you go. You already hit it.
I'm 65 and I couldn't do that. I own a house. Well, I might be able to now for a house, but no, I don't know if I could.
Right.
I don't know if somebody can give me $1 million even with this house. I just don't see how they're doing it. So,
right.
And I'm going to tell them they got to get pre-qualified. I got to make sure that the money's there. I've been talking with professionals. This is costing me money to do this,
right.
And it's eating into what, I'm getting, and I need to either shoot for the fence,
right,
or you guys need to, come to play. So that's kind of what I'm going to tell them.
Okay.
And then if they drop, then, I'm still not quite know what I'm going to say to Jenny, but I guess I can come up with something. I have to break her up.
Are you talking about the Berkshire agent?
The other agent I talked to first.
Right.
I mean, I know I don't owe her anything,
right.
But I'm a softie at heart. Don't tell anybody. I like everybody to think I'm an asshole. So leave me alone. But I'm really just a softie at heart.
Right.
I don't want to make anybody mad at me, but I got to do what's right by me, and that's basically the old lady doesn't understand. She just wants to be a white knight, run in and save the world, and it doesn't always work that way.
Well, even if you want to help these people out, you could come just from what you've shared. They're going to have more challenges on the lending side. And bigger thing is the inconsistency of the work from him. If he's been unemployed, all that. I mean, many people have been hit by COVID. And that's one of the biggest things. That's why we always push our veterans, our DOD. They got solid jobs, right? They're guaranteed income that we know what's coming in. So that's huge. And then the second thing is her owning her own business. Now, how is she up to date on her taxes? What do her taxes look like? What is she claiming? Is she claiming everything? If she's not, I don't get how she's going to qualify for this amount as well, unless she's got a huge down payment. So she has a massive down payment. That gives her a chance, which is also better for the appraisal.
I don't know if she has a bunch of cash in the bank or not. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's why
we haven't sat down and got to that. And then, there's the whole thing. As you've been speaking, time is on my side.
Yep.
I have we got March, April, May, June. I got 5 months.
Yep.
Right. We can put the house up and it can sit forever.
Right.
Now, I know you don't want that to happen, but
Jeff, I'm okay with that, to be honest with you. I'm not, as long as you're okay with it and we're on the same page. And in terms of communication, that's usually, just so you know, when we list a home, we can talk every day, right? As we've been doing. But typically what I'll do is once a week, I give you your update of what's happening on the property, on what's happening with the competition. We're having a constant conversation so that you know, and we can make informed decisions of where we're priced and how it's being received, right? But it's not just, again, these are certain agent tactics where they'll take a listing high just to try to say, oh, you're overpriced, and keep telling you that. We're not going to do that. We're going to sit and we're going to wait. And we're going to give it time to marinate, because this is a high end. This is $1 million sale. $1 million sales, you got to get the right buyer that comes through, no matter how you look at it. This isn't your traditional entry home property that you're selling. So, it's a longer period of time, and we have that time to find the right buyer that sees the value in it. And if there's things we can do to make make the place look just a little sharper or, you know, a little cleaner, whatever, then we'll talk about it, you know, and without spending a lot of money or doing anything major. It's just got to have that right feel as somebody walks in. And then once they get it, they're like, this is the location I want. This is it. Let's go. There's nothing else out there, you know?
I'm not opposed to doing something small.
Right.
But as with the other lady, I don't want to stage the house so far as, you know, I don't want to have to put in, you know, $3,000 of yard.
No.
You know, repaint this and $2,000 that. I mean, I was very pleasantly surprised with the home inspection that came in, and I was very upfront with the people. And I mean, I told them ahead of time. I said, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. The roof is old, water pools here. The garage can fill up if it rains hard, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And that's what came back. You know? So I mean, I was going to tell them, look, I can't lie. I don't lie very well. I'm not good at it. So
that makes two of us.
Just say it and have it work. And if it doesn't work, I'm really sorry. We'll shake hands and part ways.
Right.
You know, I have to have this. This is minimum of what I have to have. If you're bumped up against the wall, I can't help you.
Right.
I just can't. I can't take 880. I can't take 870 because, you know, I got to pay another house off back east, which is not going to leave me with what I need, that I feel I need to, you know, put me in the place I need to be to retire for the rest of my life, because I plan to live another 20 years.
Right. Well,
I don't know what God has for me, but I plan to live another 20 years.
but that is exactly why you have to do this right this time. That's what makes this decision so important. And it will work out the way it's supposed to. Right.
You're in. We're gonna go the whole 9 yards. We'll put it in you will. I'm gonna hand you the ball. Gonna snap me the ball. I'm gonna hand it to you.
Let's do it.
And you got to run for the goal line because I ain't blocking for you.
Right.
I'm the quarterback. So that's what's going to happen. You're going to have to do the Deion Sanders kind of woo thing.
Sounds
good. Get it done. And then if I get what I want, then I'm going to be doing backflips. If I don't, then I might cuss that shit.
That's all right. We'll be all right still. But
your old man's pretty big. I might not cuss because he's a lot bigger than I am. I ain't small, but he's bigger.
Yeah, he is.
I remember him when he was in shape when he first got out of the Navy. He was a big man.
Oh man,
gracious.
You're right, and he's still got some, fists like a bear, And I remember his cousin.
He was a big guy.
Telling me that he's like, "Do you see those fists, man? Imagine getting smacked by that." I said, "Oh, I don't have to imagine." I said, "I don't gotta imagine that." Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to touch base with you and let you know where I am.
Sounds good.
And I mean, any way we look at it, I'll probably use I'm a hunt. I don't say probably. We're going to use you for your expertise. So whatever it costs, it costs.
Right.
I'm gonna explain to them that that's going to be at least 2%.
Okay.
I hate to say it, but it's going to be.
Well, and it's
that I didn't know it either.
Well, and I don't, to be honest with you, well, and part of it, and trying to think of the best way to say it or do it. I mean, you still have the upper hand in many different ways, as you know, just to know in this market. And you can give them that number and let them know. I mean, you can say it's the cost, that they're covering the cost. You're not going to pay anything additional, but their response can be, well, we don't want to pay that cost. Let's see if there's a cheaper way that we can do it. Right. And they're going to try to do whatever they can to try to cut that out because they don't want to pay anything additional. The other thing, if it were me and I was trying to get the deals and know exactly where I'm at with them, is I'm going to tell them it's as is. Say, look, you did your inspection. You know what you're getting here. You know what you're getting on the property. And I would give them the number of if 918 is the number it's got to be, then I say 918 is it. I've looked at all the costs, expenses. There's transfer taxes involved. There's a lot involved. 918 is the number, right? And I can't go any lower than that. And it's an as-is sale. So we need to make sure we're on the same terms up front, period. And if we're on the same terms, we're not doing this where it's like you're going to ask for a $5, $10, $15, $20,000 credit, or say the appraisal came in lesser, because I already know I can get that waived on the regular market. As long as you're coming in good faith, telling me 918 is the number, then we're good. but it's a 918 number. And I would just stick to that, because when you start getting into cost and things, and you can tell them, I mean, obviously handle it however you want. I'm telling you just from experience, when I give them a number and I say it's as is, take it or leave it, they let me know. And if they say no, say, okay, that's fine. We're going to put it on the market, and we'll keep you in mind. And if you still want to stick to your 900 number, feel free to present that right at 900. But I'm telling you right now that, we already know what's going to happen once it goes on the market. So they will have the pressure to figure out, okay, can we make 918 work? And then they're going to have to talk to Jason too, to make sure that they truly can do it. Because just from what you shared already shows me enough question marks that I'd be very leery, even if they said yes to 918 with an as is, until I had them vetted. So that's a key part. So as is, cross qualified 918.
That's going to be it. And all they have to do is call Jason and give him their info.
Yep.
And then he will check, and it doesn't cost them anything. That's
correct. No cost. Service. Right. The only way it'll cost them anything is if they decide to go forward with him and close the transaction. Then they have their credit report fee and whatever his loan origination fee is, and he's competitive as well. So it's not like anything egregious with him by any means. Though actually, for your sake, it'll be a big peace of mind knowing if they decided to go with him, because he's going to close the transaction if he says he can. He's also a straight shooter. If he can't, he's going to tell him straight up. And that's why you want him looking, because if she's self-employed, you're probably going to need to see tax transcripts or what was filed in the most recent filing. And so most people haven't filed already for 2020. They're still chasing, and there's been all kinds of funky stuff with COVID. So taxes is that's why you're seeing the fallouts that you see fall out with the transactions that aren't making it. So there's many different factors, but the self-employed is a big one, that we want to be careful with. If she's the sole earner with the other person questionable, you definitely got to vet it. So so they just talked to Jason.
Sounds like that's what it is. I mean, I sat with him yesterday while the guy was doing the inspection, and he told me the story of his life, which for a younger man at 42, I always thought quite interesting. But he just reminded me of a hippie, and he did hippie shit, So it reminded me of,
right.
Oh, yeah, I had this. He actually told me he worked for the federal government in policy writings having to do with farming industry. So I don't know what that meant, but then he got sick, and then he had to leave Washington, D.C. He beat his sickness. Then he's got buddies in the Bahamas that are growing coral to replant the coral reefs. And I'm just going, fuck, we should better smoking dope and party. Just a damn hippie, man. We ought to be just hanging. So that's very good information. Now, let me ask you one more thing.
Yes,
when you say, quote, go with Jason, you're talking him generating the money for them?
Correct. Him doing the loan. If they decide to ultimately go, that would make them stronger.
What does that pre-qualify mean?
Pre-qualify is doing the process, right? So even the cross qualification, they submit their loan application. So he'll have a link to send them. They'll go online, fill out their information, how much income they make, social security numbers, so that they can run their credit. And we want to see everything. We want to see what their debt is. We want to see what their income is. It's called their debt to income ratios. We want to see what their assets are, what proof of funds they have. And once we have all that back end information, now we know, okay, this is their financial snapshot of today. They look like they could qualify for this. He's going to know, based on the different broker relationships he has, who's the best broker with the best interest rate, see what their payment looks like. You'd be shocked how many buyers get a pre-qual, have no idea what their payment is. They have no clue, because their loan officer doesn't tell them, or tell them what their total cash to close is. How much money out of pocket do they need to come in with, right? And so those are key things that they need to know. What's their total cash to close? What is their monthly payment? And how high can they truly qualify for? And then the other follow-up question I'll ask Jason is, okay, so say there is an appraisal situation. How much extra money do they have so that they can cover the difference? Otherwise, if we get a low appraisal, which again, don't be shocked if that happens. It's another crapshoot. It's all subjective. It would be nice if anything was guaranteed, with us knowing what kind of appraiser is going to go out there, but it's all subjective. So if we get the wrong appraiser out there, who comes in and gives way too much weight to these lower sales and just got a hair up his butt and thinks that this market is crazy and he's going to be the knight in shining armor and protect these buyers and come in with a low ball appraisal. Now we got to rebut that and challenge that, or we need to work with a whole new lender altogether to get a new appraisal, right? So it's a process that goes through, and the more we can predict up front, then when we cross that bridge, hopefully there's no issue with appraisal. It's like, cool, we're done, and we keep moving forward. But if there is, we don't freak out and then undersell the property or do anything because we've already planned it all out. So that's where the experience comes in.
Would you be willing to come and talk to the four of us?
Yes.
Just so that, because I'm not going to remember all this stuff, and I'm not going to have, I'm going to say some of these, what your pay, do you know what your payment is? Do you know what your, cash to close is?
Right.
Do you know what your debt ratio is? I have this written down like you. I'm taking notes real quick.
Right.
But I think they may not, if she's smart as a whip, which he seems like he's highly educated, I'm not too sure if they know this process. They may.
Okay.
I don't know. And I would, I'm going to add him and say, let's talk with my guy so he can tell you exactly what's going to happen. So we both know, because I'm in gray hair. Because I really don't know. You're telling me stuff I had no idea. I just figured they're going to hand me the $900. I'm going to walk and I'm going to be happy to plan that.
Right.
Not what happens.
No.
Everybody wants a piece of the action, and you got to do this. You got to have insurance, and because we've got this amount of time, and I got to rent this, so I got to have insurance, and I got, yada yada yada. It's grown into a monster that I had not predicted.
Right. So
you are giving me an education, and I appreciate it very much because I know this is your time.
No problem.
So I'm going to go ahead, as I said, I'm going to talk with them. I'm going to see. I don't think it'll happen for a couple of days because apparently he's working on a consignment basis with this company here on the coast. And apparently she said for the next couple of days he's very tied up with work.
Okay.
So I'm just going to call her back and see if we can't make it time, see what they say, how they want to work this.
Right.
Feel them out a little bit. I might call you back and tell you my perception.
Okay.
And then, if it starts seeming where it is getting really serious, because I got to tell them, there's 2% you got to take, you got to pick up. I'm not going to pick it up.
Right.
And if they just say no, then I'm going to say deal's off.
Yep.
I promised you this. I promised you that. I'll pay you back for the inspection because I promised I'd do that.
Right.
Where I'm not mad. I hope you're not mad at me. I'm going to give you a fist bump.
Yep.
And down the road you go. You can go find something else.
Right.
That you might be able to qualify for. And then I'll be calling you up and say, show me the money. Say it with me, Brad. Show me the money.
That's a great one, man.
That was great. That was a great scene in that movie.
I love Jerry Maguire.
Tell it to me, Jerry.
Right?
Tell it to me, Jerry.
Tell it to Jerry. He's got, what did he say? He's got that, I'm trying to remember. It was like that stardom, but he had a name for it, or a slang word. What was it? He's got do you remember what I'm talking about? The receiver?
No, I don't remember. I just remember him standing in the kitchen with his brother, like the black guy. Tell me, Jerry, let me hear it. And he's just screaming, show me the money.
Well, I'll be showing you the money, Jeff. I'll be showing it to you. So no, it's.
We'll go from there. So that's where I'm at. I'm gonna call her back this afternoon. I'm waiting for my tax guy to call back so I can pay him.
Cool.
And then 12. It's time for lunch.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
Okay, that sounds good. Let me know if they have any questions about the cross qual or need me to explain. I'm more than happy to talk to them about why that's important, as well as why we need that to happen on our end.
Well, I think it would be a good thing, to have you do, but they may feel that they got this all figured out. I don't know. Okay. And I'm just going to tell them, hey, this blew up way beyond anything I expected, because I did not expect all this extra stuff. Well, you got to do this, and you got to do that. You got to scope the sewer, and you got to da-da-da, and you got to stand on one foot and point to the north, and yada, yada. Shit. I figured you sell the house, out of the $500,000 everything else is covered. There, I actually thought the agent was going to do all the staging, right?
Right.
For the money you're getting paid, you're going to stage this, right? I don't have to pay any of this shit. Right?
Right.
Oh no, you got to do this. What? Say what?
Right.
Oh, homie, don't play that. So
again,
that has grown a little bit beyond what I had an understanding of. So you can see how when you're not a professional in the business,
right?
What people don't tell you, like this loan stuff and pre-qual, and cross-qualifying, and so what if you have a pre-approval matter? It doesn't mean shit until we know this, that, and the other thing.
No, the DU is the DU is more substantial, and that's the direct under. That means the application has been submitted to an underwriter. The underwriter looks at it and says, "Yep, you're good," or "No, you're not," and these are the red flags. Or it says, "Yes, you're good," but these are still the red flags. We want to see that. We want to see all the skeletons in the closet up front. Period. Regardless of what, if these guys say 918 as is, we're happy with it. We still want to see the skeletons. If they can do everything, that's another situation. But if they need a few days because he's busy, I would still give them Jason's info to give them time to reach out. Plus, you'll see how motivated they are. If they reach out to Jason and get that ball rolling, they show you they're serious about your place. So it's up to you if you want to talk about the 918 before they do that. And I probably would. I'd give them the terms, lay out the 3 things, and then see how they respond to it. And if they're serious about it, they'll move forward. They just had the home inspection. It's not a blind. This isn't a blind saying I'm going to take it as is. They had a professional home inspection that you're paying for either way. So what you're paying for if it doesn't work out for them. So there's no pressure on them. You're giving full disclosure to them, and they should be able to make a decision on the number now. So if they can't now, then they're only telling you by not telling you that they got something else in their head for down the road for what they're going to ask for. And it may be that roof, so just
I agree.
Things you gotta nip it up front,
Because I've been fully transparent with them, and I mean fully. I haven't tried to hide a thing.
Nope.
And I'm not telling you, hey, it's just like, I love you guys. You seem to be good people. I'm trying to do what I do, but I need this. That requires you to pick up that. And if you can't do it, that's not my fault. You got to go find some place where you can get me more money.
Well, one last thing, Jeff, that my dad shared with me that I wanted to share with you that I didn't even think about. He said that if it helps at all, if they don't have representation, if they're not looking, gut is they were probably working with somebody beforehand, but if they don't have anybody, that you can basically tell them that I'll do everything I can in my power to make sure I find them the right place, and also if this doesn't work out for whatever reason, say the numbers aren't there, say the qualifications, say they're not willing to do as is or whatever it is, just say for whatever reason it doesn't work out with them, you can let them know that because we care about them and we want to help them find the right property, that I'd be more than happy to do that as well. So I feel like we've gotten to know each other a lot over the last few days, but more than anything, just know it's my sincere interest to help them out, not trying to push them out of this deal, none of that. And if this one doesn't work out, I'll help them find their home. And we've been solid in getting our offers accepted.
If it goes south, you've been more than willing to help them. I mean, I don't know what the big deal is to why they came this direction, because I see other houses that are cheaper, not farther away from here, not too much farther, right? But they got their friends right down the street. This is probably the best neighborhood in Ventura.
Right.
These 6, 7, 8 blocks. This is probably the primo, neighborhood. So anybody wants to play on Brent Street, you got to come talk to Jeff.
There you go. And you gotta show the money. Show us the money.
That's right. Show me the money. You gotta talk to Brandon.
There we go.
You got to talk with him.
Right.
Just lay out the cash in $100 bill. Kristen, bam.
Bam. I've already been visualizing it, man. All right, Jeff.
I'm gonna go ahead and call them here in a minute as soon as I get done with my tax guy.
Sounds good.
And then probably a day or so, I'll get back a hold of you and we'll chat some more.
Sounds good, Jeff. You have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it.
No problem. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, Ryan. We don't watch other kids play. Okay? No, we don't. It's strange. I never thought this world would come to us watching other kids play things, other toys. Yada, yada, yada. Yada, yada. We like to party. 50 minutes that I had with Jeff, I had like 4 missed calls. Dude, training is like call. Hey, I get them fired up. Don't call me after. You want some? Yummies? Ellie, want some bread? No bread? You were awesome. Every day did yesterday. I just appreciate you. Silly. Yeah. typically from the MLS I represent. This is the buyer that already wants to buy the house. Just trying to figure out the paperwork. That I told him that the problem is my name's on all the paperwork. I'll have a liability, even though I can keep paperwork. You can require I'm not saying you can't get a loan. I am saying you would be doing justice to try to let something like that. Your person. You want to walk over that? Before you said no, it was like $500. So you must have before she's gone from 980 to being happy with 980. Down to 950. Talks to the CPA, now he's at 1.1. And now he's saying he needs to walk over 950 at all costs. So it's 50 on top of that, it's like $1,010,000. I just think that happen. It may happen, but I can't promise you that will. So I think 950 is a smart place to listen to that. You know, if you get 40, 50 over that, here's your get over 980. I said, if you got to compare apples to apples, you got to compare this because you don't know if they're as qualified as they say they are. You still want them to cover the 2%. That's a little more towards salary. And then 1% towards IPs. 2% wants the buyer to pay for it. That's a good deal. Try to see if they will. But you got to get them up to 980. You have to make sure that they don't ask for any repairs.
Managed screen, please close, but just do multiple. So they'll be here for one. In your room. She's in my room. You have to give me my wallet. No. Yes, you have to. No. You have to. We made a deal. No. I break the deal. Can't break that. No. No. A deal. No. I broke the deal. Write it out. Oh, you're so mean. Oh, that's so mean. Mikey, stop. Chad, come at me. Yeah. Emma. He's her chief. Let's go see. Because he's a babe. No, let me see. So I broke the deal.
You broke the deal, then you can't make any better.
Yep, I don't trust you. So I won't eat much ice cream. I won't eat anything. I will buy him
Mikey.
I'm just reading, Mom. That's what it says. No, just she doesn't say nothing. It says something. Oh, tell me.
You're not being mean.
Is it Spider-Man? Is it Spider-Man?
That's Stan.
Sorry.
Where's Dad?
He's outside.
Okay.
A lot of stuff was.
Right.
I need to get my stomach checked out. I've been feeling like this right around here. But sometimes I
Figure out what's up.